So this is Business Morning live from Lagos, Nigeria. We welcome our viewers here and around the world. It's Monday, September the 18th. I am Bosun Mafaya on the show today. Let's get started with what's the rest of September looking like on our calendar. The Debt Management Office first special bond offering of 100 billion naira sukuk. That offering is closing on Wednesday. That's September the 21st. Today's Monday, so it's going to close in about 3 days' time. And we have the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, is live here to us within the hour of the program. You don't want to miss that conversation at about 10:30 a.m. this morning. This is our first live television interview since she took office on the 1st of July. Meantime, the meeting of the OPEC, that's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, scheduled for Vienna, Austria on September the 22nd. Already we've heard from Nigeria that we're not submitting to any haircut of oil production or output until the March 2018 deadline set by last November meeting. Meantime, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, that's next week, will hold its annual general meeting on the 25th. On the same day, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee will start its two-day interest rate setting meeting. And the announcement, as always, will be on Tuesday at about 2:30 in the afternoon. That's all next week. And to finish off the month of September, the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange is holding its National Debt Market Conference. That will be here in Lagos, a whole-day event with all the big names in the Nigeria's debt market. You don't want to miss that on Thursday, the 28th. Now, let's roll back a little bit. Friday last week, a major initiative was achieved when Nigeria incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending, NASAL, partners signed an MOU with Stanbic IBTC for a 50 billion naira lending towards 2017-2018 dry and wet season in the agriculture sector. Stanbic IBTC is committing 10 billion naira in the first phase of this initiative, looking to create over 92,000 jobs, and which farmers will cultivate close to 12,000 additional hectares of land across the country. NISA, however, is providing credit guarantees of up to 75% of Stanbic IBTC loans to bankable agriculture projects. NASAL is a wholly owned Central Bank of Nigeria's initiative organization, which was set up in 2013 as a public-private initiative with about $300 million risk-sharing facility. And this organization has facilitated about 65 billion naira in credit risk guarantee to agri sector since its initiative. Let's get some interesting facts behind the figures and put some figures to the facts behind the NISO Stanbic IBTC partnership in the agriculture sector. Joining me live now, first is NASAL Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Aliyu Abdulhamid. Good morning, it's good to have you here.
Good morning. Good.
Hope you had a very good weekend.
Thank you, excellent. Thank you very much.
You folks were signing 50 billion naira on Friday. That looks a lot of money, but let's get started from why do you think this initiative with Stanbic is important?
Well, it's important in the sense that if you put it into context versus, for example, the total budgetary outlay to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture for the 2017 budgetary year, that would be about 130 billion. But if you put the context of that 50 billion from one bank alone, that would be about half of the federal budget. The federal government budget to agriculture is a very critical component of the overall support to the agricultural sector. That enables the environment to be amenable for projects and for banks to step in. Without the federal allocation to agriculture as it was, it would be difficult for us in the project support segment and in terms of financing projects to be able to do our role very well. So contextually, you could see that the 50 billion from Stanbic alone, that would be about half of the federal budget, and that goes direct to projects that make impact, that actually affects lives directly, because this money is supposed to be given as credit and loan and investment support to projects along the value chain.
When your agency was set up in 2013, what were the key framework of what you should be doing, and how does this fit into that?
No, thank you for that question. 50% of the mandate of NASAL, which is $500 million US dollars in capital organization provided by the central bank, 50% of our effort and our funding and our support should go actually to the primary producer. And these primary producers, cutting across poultry, livestock, crops, tree crops, these constitute the bulk of the Nigeria's population in terms of actual labor force that are engaged in agri. So you could imagine the impact of a 50 billion, 50% of that going into that segment of the population. 80%, above 80% of Nigeria's active labor force is involved in agriculture in the rural area. And this constitutes what I said earlier, about 50% of our effort going to that segment. Now imagine by extension, 50% of 50 billion going to that segment of the population. Millions of lives will be directly affected. Millions more will be indirectly affected. And that is one of the key mandates of NASL by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
What makes Stanbic Bank the bank to do agri-finances scheme with?
Well, first of all, I would not speak for Stanbic, but the facility of NASL and the NASL as a corporation is meant to enable financing for all commercial banks and other lenders in the economy. Let's say we have 25, 26 banks in Nigeria. Deposit money banks, discount houses, merchant banks, and they're all eligible. But I think it's part of probably the business imperative and probably the analysis of the Stanbic and Standard Bank Group to say, okay, agriculture is the in thing, is the go-to segment of the economy in Nigeria. There is policy alignment, there is global alignment to support agri because it's like a silver bullet. Agriculture done right solves a lot of problems. Social security issues, food security issues, trade imbalances across nations, regionally, between countries. So it's up to banks actually, based on their strategic imperatives, to realize that for Nigeria, with the alignment we're getting from the presidency, from the central bank, from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, agriculture is the in thing. So I would expect other banks to also line up their agricultural portfolio behind NASL because it's a no-brainer. If you want to put your money behind agricultural value chain projects, why not do it with an entity that can de-risk it for you? Provide interest drawback, provide technical assistance to projects, and also monitor the projects for you.
I want to ask if money is everything in agriculture.
Not necessarily, because money for us in NASL, the catalyzing of funding is the initial stage. The main challenge for agriculture, especially the primary production segment, which is the riskiest, is what happens when the money leaves the vault and goes into the hands of the producer. It is that black hole, that unknown, that constitutes the fear for financiers. So for us in NASL, the release of the money is just the beginning of a long chain of processes. The moment the money leaves the bank vault and we guarantee that project, we lose our sleep, literally, because we have put our guarantee behind that money. So project monitoring, project reporting, remediation, staying put with that project 365 days of the year, 24/7, is a no option for us. We just have to do it. Because every single naira that crystallizes under our guarantee means my balance sheet will be eroded. So we deploy the latest that technology has to offer in terms of visualizations of project in the field in real time. We have big data reporting, we have big data analytics that tells us at any given time what is happening to a project, no matter how remote it is, on the face of the geography of Nigeria. It is that kind of information, that kind of real-time monitoring project that gives additional comfort to banks to know that every single naira they catalyze into the agricultural sector, they have a big brother partner that actually keeps an eye on that project on their behalf. And therefore, the achievement of a project in terms of its capability to generate surplus revenue, pay back its loan, and create surplus for itself, that is the success criteria for NASL. And that's exactly what fits into the overall monetary policy stance, inflation control stance, and other developmental objectives of the central bank. So you can see we are actually a tool of the Central Bank of Nigeria to achieve the overall policy objective of the federal government.